A Bride Turned to Stone, Part 1 of 2, republished from the Goldsboro Messenger, Goldsboro, North Carolina. January 26, 1874, page 1. To the Editor of The Sun. Sir, there have been so many comments in the papers, and I receive so many letters which it is impossible for me to answer. In reference to the curious case of petrifaction which recently came under my notice, that I am constrained to write an account of the whole affair, giving at the same time my hypothesis as explanatory of the rationale. Mr. Frederick Haller is, by profession, a lawyer. He early acquired, however, quite a fondness for the natural sciences, especially geology. He has, perhaps, the largest and most complete geological cabinet in Louisiana. Whenever he wishes to relieve himself from the dry details of law, he withdraws himself into his rock study, as he calls the apartment where he keeps his cabinet and books relating to science, and there pass as many hours in experiment, in reading, and in manipulating the geological and paleontological collections which, through a period of nearly 30 years, he has drawn together. The beautiful bride, having married early in life, some 5 years ago he lost his wife and gave up his household affairs to an elderly maiden sister. Something over a month ago he married again, taking as his bride a beautiful and charming young girl of 16. As a physician to her father's family and an intimate friend, I was an honored guest at the marriage ceremony. I am sure I never saw a more beautiful and happy bride. No one could have dreamed of the strange fate which awaited her. On the morrow after the wedding, Mr. Haller took his young bride to his residence, a splendid mansion in the suburbs of the village. She was accompanied by a number of her female friends who were to spend the day with her, while he, having business of importance at his office in town, promised to return as speedily as he could dispose of the business. The bride, being installed in her new home, cared to take little notice of the household matters for this day of matrimonial life, preferring to amuse herself with the friends who had come over with her, knowing that the domestic affairs were in good hands in the geologist's cabinet at about 1 o'clock. She and some 3 or 4 of her most intimate friends went into Mr. Haller's rock study, already mentioned, to look over the cabinet of curiosities, where they amused themselves in frivolous gaiety, such as young and thoughtless girls would indulge in, harmless and innocent to all appearance. Among the curiosities which Mr. Haller had gathered were several round boulders brought from Arkansas. These boulders aren't being broken, present in the central space, a crystalline formation, and are usually not much larger than the double fists. One of these, however, was unusually large, measuring 21 inches in circumference. Frequently the internal surface, always hollow, contains water, or rather a concentrated solution of silica in water. This fact was known to one of the young ladies who mentioned it. At once they began to wonder whether there was water in the large boulder. 2 of the smaller ones had been broken, showing in the center large crystals, and had contained water, according to the assertion of the young lady who had gained her information at some other time in the previous visit. The fatal draught, at once it was proposed to break the large one, and several ineffectual attempts were made by them with a geological hammer always present. They called to their aid a colored man, a servant on the place, who was requested to break open the rock, as they called it. He readily consented, being willing to thus render his first service to the new mistress. A pitcher being placed underneath the boulder, as the man held it, one sturdy blow of his stalwart arm cracked it, and the fluid within ran out and was collected in the pitcher, scarcely losing a drop, there being half a pint of it. A few additional blows opened the boulder, presenting large, fine, transparent crystals of quartz, These were much admired, and other friends were called from the parlor to look at the novelty. The bride, without ever giving it a thought, conceived the notion of drinking the water from the boulder. She poured most of it into a glass tumbler, nearly filling it, and lifting it to her lips, she drank first to the health of her husband, then to that of the unmarried friends in the room, wishing them shortly to be happy brides like herself, and drained the glass, all being done so quickly that no one had time to interfere or think that any consequence might follow. Rigid in death, at first it was thought that no harm was done, and it was considered a fine joke, and much merriment was made. But in a few minutes, the youthful bride complained of excessive pain in the stomach, and she began to realize the rashness of her action. A messenger was sent in haste for her husband and myself, Mr. Holler's office being near my own. We received the message almost simultaneously, and we rapidly drove together in my buggy to his house. When we arrived, she was dead. A period of 15 minutes having elapsed from the time of taking the fatal draught to the time of extinction of life. They were just laying her out on our arrival. To my surprise, I found that she had grown in that short period so rigid as to render it difficult to straighten her limbs. In the course of 3/4 of an hour, her entire body became as hard and inflexible as bone. I pass over the grief and consternation of the husband and the family as something too sacred for remark, confining myself exclusively to the scientific facts. It was plain that something akin to the ossification had taken place. On more minute examination and inquiry, I found that the dissolved silica she had taken into her stomach had been absorbed and transmitted by the chylopoietic apparatus and blood vessels throughout the system, and that her whole body was a petrifaction